I'm feeling like today is the day that my opinion offends someone, so let's jump right into it. You guys, welcome back to the opinion you didn't ask for. I'm Hannah, and I'm back from my little vacay with my husband. He had to go on like a work trip, but we turned it into a belated anniversary trip. And so we scheduled it over spring break. So my parents took my kids, and the two of us got away for almost an entire week, just me and him, which was honestly kind of weird. I'm like, I don't have kids' bedtimes. I don't have cold food when we go out to eat because I'm making sure everyone else has eaten. And it was super, super nice, right? Like, it's so fun to just get away with him, right? Like, we feel like I want to say newlyweds, but I was pregnant our whole first year of marriage. So, not really newlyweds. So we're kind of getting to experience this little stage of life where my kids are old enough to leave and getting to spend time just the two of us. And he kept saying, like, I miss the kids, or we should have just brought them. And yes, I understand. And it wasn't because he didn't want to spend time with me, but we love our kids. We love spending time with our kids. They're our little best friends. I'm honestly trying to raise humans that I enjoy being around. And so we really do love having our kids with us and going places with them and, taking them to the movies or going out to eat. Like, we love having all of us together as a family. However, I think it is so important that couples get alone time, that couples have intimate one-on-one time without the children around. And even just dropping my kids off, we met my parents halfway. They took the kids. The drive home, we had an entire conversation and weren't interrupted one time. Not one person needed one thing from us. I got through a whole sentence without someone being like, Mom, Mom, Mom. I'm like, okay, hold on. Like, your snack can wait. Or, it doesn't matter if your shoes are on. We're in the car. But like, that is how my life is right now. That, there is no passenger princess. I am the car slave who does all of the chores and who takes care of all the snack opening and fixes the juice and breaks up all the fights. And that is my job. So it is not peaceful when I am in the passenger seat. So it was so fun. And that doesn't mean I'm a bad mom because I enjoyed time without my kids. I deserve the ability to reset. I deserve that ability. So does my husband. He deserves to be able to not always be in dad mode and gets to be in fun husband mode, which we normally only get to be for an hour or two at the end of the day when the kids are all in bed. But then we're both trying to get things done. I'm trying to clean up the house, or he's going to the gym, or we want to watch our show together. So there's not as much talking time. Y'all, we had more talking time this last week than I think we've had in a year. Okay, we'd be driving and the music would be on and it'd be quiet for like a second. And I'd be like, so what do you want to talk about? And he's like, we've been talking for days. And I'm like, yeah, well, I've got more things to say, okay? We went to dinners and I was like, what is this? Like, you and I, we only needed 2 chairs. We went to multiple places and we only had to get a table for 2. It was wild. It was fun. But we sat at the table, and I think that this is so healthy to do like couple check-ins. And I asked him, like, what has been the greatest thing or the biggest change over the last 8 years? Like, what is something that you feel like has changed in our marriage or in yourself? And then I asked, like, what has been the hardest part of marriage? And it was so fun to see how far we've come, how much we've both grown individually and as a couple and as parents. And we were able to dig deep and have vulnerable conversations and deep conversations and just get to fall more in love. Like, we were together majority of the time. He only had to work a little bit, a few days. We were together the whole time. Not one argument, not one disagreement, not one time that I was annoyed with him, like, which miracles, honestly. And I know that that is not always the case, right? Like sometimes they just get on your nerves, but we are together all the time. He works from home. We are together 24/7. So that is very common for us to spend that much time together, but not to actually talk about our life plans, life goals, where we see ourselves in a year, 5 years, 10 years. And so it's been really fun. Okay, it was this amazing trip, but it made me realize, and it brought me back to a conversation I had a few months ago with my best friend who, it was like a verbal, not even a verbal submission. Okay, this was like a face-to-face because she was sitting on my couch and she came to stay with me and we were talking about, they're about to have their 10-year wedding anniversary. They kind of wanted to go on this getaway trip, like a big trip for their 10-year and do something really cool and fun. And she's like, but her husband was like, let's just bring the kids and make our anniversary like a family birthday. And she's telling me about the plans, so they might do something else instead that's more, fun for their boys because they love having their kids with them, which I understand, right? Like I understand that as a mom. But she gets done and I'm sitting there and I just look at her and I was like, can I give you my opinion? Which would we expect anything less from me? Absolutely not. And neither does she. She does not expect less. She's like, of course, I expected it, honestly, like give it to me. So here is my opinion. And this might ruffle some feathers. This might sound rude. I swear it's not. And she's not offended. Trust me. She knows me. I hate when people try to turn anniversaries into family birthdays. It is not your family birthday, okay? Those kids, for the majority, okay, not everyone, but for the most part, those kids weren't at the wedding, okay? They were not a part of that celebration. They didn't help pay for a thing. Your wedding was your day. Your anniversary is a symbolic, memory every year that you guys have still chosen each other, that another year has gone and we still love each other, or we are still fighting for each other. We are still working at this marriage. Like we have done that. And I think it almost does your marriage a disservice when you turn everything into a kid-friendly event or a kids-included moment. Because as a wife, as a mom, and this is just me personally, I have found moments where I feel, I don't even want to say jealous of my kids because that is not truly how I feel. But sometimes like the brain, I don't know how to process it. So when I had Trace, Taylor would come home from work because he didn't work from home yet. He'd come home from work and he'd immediately take Blake and they would go to the store for me, or he would take her outside, or I would go, lay down while Trace was sleeping as a newborn and he would take her. But I found myself almost jealous of the time she was getting with him. Like he gets home from work and immediately he's in dad mode and taking care of her, which a lot of it might have been the postpartum. I am so grateful for, you guys. I am so grateful that I married someone who loved being a dad, who would come home and not even need to be asked to help. But there were times I felt like I'm the mom. I'm this mom. I have this new baby. And she's getting to hang out with my best friend, okay? Because he's my best friend. But he was helping me in ways that I didn't even realize I needed. But I didn't realize how much I was lacking time with him in the depths of motherhood and postpartum. And we had 2 under 2. Don't recommend that. That's a whole different conversation, honestly. I could go on for days. I love it now, but I sure didn't then. So there are times in our marriages where I feel like, yeah, the kids, they need attention, especially when they're younger. They need more of your constant love and attention and care. However, your kids should not be coming first. Your spouse should always be number one. And I think a lot of people, and I know this for a fact because I have social media, okay? I see a lot of posts. A lot of people forget that. They put their kids in the number one spot. And the spouse either falls second or possibly third or fourth, okay? And that is going to create resentments from one side or the other. And it's not just moms doing this. Husbands will put the kids first. And I don't know why, my wife is so frustrated. However, homegirl hasn't been touched or kissed or told she looks beautiful in the last week. Even if she hasn't showered, you still tell her she looks beautiful, okay? She birthed your children. She's taking care of them. But so often, husbands and wives aren't giving the same attention to their spouse as they are the kids. And they see it as this, oh, my kids need this. They need that. No, your kids need to see a healthy marriage. Your kids need to see their mother being told she's beautiful and that you love her and that you're grateful for her. Or they need to see you tell your husband, their father, how amazing he is and how hard he works and thanking him for what he is doing for you, right? Like both parties need to be appreciated and the children need to see that more than they need to be coddled, more than they need to be obsessed over. Okay, kids don't need as much attention as we think they do, okay? And that is why we have so many dependent children on their parents. Give them their wings to fly, okay? They do not need constant helicoptering. Let them make mistakes. Let them get slightly injured. Be there when they need you to be there, but be able to take a step back. And I think a lot of it is more parents don't want to. It's not so much the kids need the parent, unless they've created super dependent kids. The parents don't want to let up that control. They don't want to let go of their babies. Like, they're only small for so long. Absolutely. They are only small for so long. But I have seen so many marriages where the kids get older and they're way less dependent on their parents and the kids are out of the house and suddenly they're stuck at home with their spouse that they chose to marry and it's like they don't even know each other. Okay, you don't want to be strangers to your spouse when your last kid leaves the house. You don't want that. I promise you, you don't. And your kids don't want that. Your kids are watching your marriage and they're deciding right then and there, do I want to mirror this? Do I want to have the kind of love my parents have? Or do I want the complete opposite? Because those two are a hot mess, okay? You're setting that example. And I'm really passionate about it because I feel like we try really, really hard to be like, stop, hold on. Like, if I'm in the middle of a conversation and my daughter interrupts, my husband will be like, excuse me, your mother is speaking. Like, or if they're yelling at me, he'll be like, don't talk to my best friend like that. Like, he is showing them how to respect me and that I am his most important person. And they'll even say, like, dad's in love with mom. Like, dad is mom's best friend or mom is dad's best friend. They're in love. And I am so grateful that that's what my kids say about us. I am so grateful that they know their dad's picking me over them. And I'm so grateful they know, vice versa. Obviously, we love our children. Obviously. We love our kids. We love hanging out with our kids, okay? They're really funny. They're really cool to spend time with. And I wouldn't give them up. I wouldn't trade them to not be a mom anymore, right? Like, I would not be like, if we could go back in time, I wouldn't have them. Which, if any of you watched Love is Blind, the one sister who was like, I love my kids, but if I got another life, I would choose not to have them. And that's a whole different conversation apparently, because man, I have thoughts on that too, because how horrid to say that out loud or to think it. And I get it's hard sometimes. Being a mom, you have to be selfless. Being a parent, you have to give a lot more than you want to give sometimes. But I would not trade that for a millisecond. I love being their mom, but I also love being Taylor's wife, and I love having time with him. So I just think that there's this magic in letting something be your own. Your wedding anniversary, the day that you two chose each other, that is your day. That is your moment. You should not be including your children in that. And I'm not to say that like they can't be in the house on the day of your anniversary, but you should be going out to dinner, just the two of you. You should be trying to find a way, even if you can't afford it or you don't have someone to help watch your kids, or there's obviously other circumstances, put them to bed and have one of you go pick up food or have someone make a special dinner, set a candle out, put on some romantic music, sit at the table, just the two of you, and have that anniversary, okay? And if you can do more, great. If you can't, that's okay. Everyone's at different stages. But your children should not be thinking, oh, good, it's the family birthday. Because as a wife, and I told my bestie this, I was like, I would feel angry. I would feel resentful if he's over here trying to be like, okay, let's just have a family birthday. Like, we don't need to celebrate just us, because every other holiday is everyone else, unless it's your birthday, right? Like, that is the only day that's about you. But your anniversary is the day that's about the two of you, the day the two of you chose each other. And the kids should see that. They should see that you two choose each other and are still choosing each other, and that they don't always get to be a part of that, okay? And she wasn't offended by that. She's like, no, I understand that. Like, We just love having our boys around, and I totally get it. And that's okay. There are people, I have seen multiple influencers that post like our family anniversary or our family birthday. And I'm just like, no, I don't agree. I just don't agree with that. That is my opinion, that is unhealthy, and that at some point it will cause resentment, or that when the kids are out of the house and it's like just your anniversary, it's like, well, what do we do now? Like, and maybe not. Maybe some people are like, no, we're great at date nights. We're great at couples getaways. Okay, we aren't. We are in the depths of parenthood, and we can't afford to just go on a bunch of getaways and vacations, and we don't do date nights hardly ever. And so for us, I want to be able to say, hey, we had alone time, even if it's belated, okay? Our anniversary is in February. We went on this trip in April. Obviously, wasn't the same day, but I knew it was coming, and we knew what it was called. Like, we called this our belated anniversary trip. Okay, we knew what the point of this was. It was to celebrate our marriage and our connection and our love for each other. So there's that. And as I thought about that and on the trip and being without kids, you know, my brain, it was going, because I have lots of thoughts, lots of opinions. Every single day I could give like 17 episodes on things. I just wish I could have a recorder in my head, because man, I could go for hours on certain topics. But I think in line with this is, and I know that this may be a minority opinion. I don't actually know if this is even a majority opinion. However, I do not believe in co-sleeping. Okay, I do not believe in sharing a bed with your children. And hold on, before y'all freak out, before you get real annoyed with me and turn this off, listen. There are different situations where I'm like, okay, if it's a short period of time, or when you are a new mom. Now, I never co-slept with any of my kids. I am a very deep sleeper, and I watched a horrible episode of Law and Order once when I was a kid that gave me so much anxiety that I was like, my children will never be in my bed. Okay, not saying that that's how anyone else feels. That is how I felt. So before I even had children, before I even had a husband, I was like, I will never sleep in the bed with my kids, because I cannot have that episode become my reality. It was horrible, and it still haunts me, okay? But I know that some parents co-sleep. I know that the hospital says don't do that. I am such a deep sleeper that my children must be placed, and they were in a bassinet right next to my bed, but they were not in my physical bed with me. Unless when Trace was a baby, man, God bless me for surviving him as a newborn. He was hard, but he had a hard time breathing a lot, and he would stop breathing a lot. So I learned to sleep sitting up with him on my chest, because I knew I could not lay down with him. He also needed the elevation. And then Taylor would wake up in the middle of the night, see me. He would tag me out. He would sit up, hold him so I could lay down for my back's sake. You know, that was a very short period. It was when he was sick as a baby. He was fine. It got better. So he would sleep in his bassinet. All my kids slept in a bassinet next to my bed, but never in my bed, because I just couldn't handle it. Well, as they get older, and you know what? I do not understand families that still have their kids sleeping in the beds, because I'm like, how? How do you do it? My kids, take forever to go to bed, but they need their own quiet space, nobody there, nobody moving. Y'all, I move a lot. I am like a tornado in bed. When I was a kid, every morning my mom had to remake my bed, because she would come in and all the sheets would be swirled in the center, and I'd be laying either somehow in them or laying around the sheets. But my bed had been completely stripped while I was sleeping, because I move, I roll, I tug, I pull, like every morning. That she found those little like bed straps to clip to the sheets to hold down all four corners, so that I could only do it to the top half of the bed, that the bed sheet would stay on, and then she would just have to make the top half every morning. That is how it is here, okay? I sleep like a tornado. I'm still a grown-up, and I still sleep like a child, okay? I don't know how these people are sleeping. Also, kids will like slap you and kick you and punch you, and I'm like, how are you getting restful sleep? That's my first question. I have a lot of questions. That's going to be number one, is how are you even doing it? Second, and this is a couple years ago, this influencer posted, she has millions of followers, she has 3 kids, and they all sleep in her room, not in her bed anymore because they're too big, Which I'm like, if your kids are too big to sleep in your bed, they are too big to be in your bedroom. Not the point. They had little stations, like they had little cot bed areas that each of their kids had, and they all sleep in the same bedroom, which I was just like, absolutely not. But one of her followers DM'd her or on like one of those little question boxes or whatever and was like, how do you guys like do it if your kids are in the room? And I remember her response was so snarky and it honestly annoyed me because she was like, yeah, heaven forbid, like the only place we can, do marital things is in the bedroom. Like you guys are so uncreative. You're so, closed-minded to, how a couple should do things. And I was so annoyed because I'm like, no, that's not it. Like, yeah, you could do it in every single room of your house. The living room, the couch, the kitchen counter, like whatever. You could. Do I want to do that? Absolutely not. I paid good money for that mattress. I like my pillows, okay? I like having a door that shuts and that I know no one's gonna accidentally wake up and walk in on. Like, there's a lock on the door for a reason. Like, no, obviously you can do it in every room of your house, sure. Do I want to? No, I don't want to do that. And it's not even always, okay, because then you have to plan it. And then it's not as spontaneous or as like wild or whatever. But some of you were like, Hannah, this may be TMI. Nah, there is no such thing as TMI with me. Okay, the problem is I will give way too much information that people did not sign up for. And I'm like, sorry, not sorry. Okay, you chose to be here. That is just not, I don't want to have to schedule it every time, okay? There is something so fun about being so tired. You get in bed, you say goodnight, you roll over, and then suddenly things get happening, okay? It's spontaneous. It's fun. You know what you can't do that when? Children are in your bed, okay? Because that's just A, wildly inappropriate, and B, they will not sleep through that, okay? There's my second question, I guess. Like, I just don't understand how that's even fun. And I feel like it's the same with, wedding anniversary being turned to a family birthday. Someone is going to start getting resentful. I feel like one of the spouses is going to be like, hi, I would like to have my bed back. Like, I don't know why you need our kids to be in our bed because it takes away that intimacy, that privacy. Also, I don't think children need to be welcome in every single bedroom of the house, okay? If they have access to every room, they are not being taught boundaries. They are not being taught that there is a time and a place that they are not always going to be included in situations. And I believe that your bedroom should be your escape, your private place, your child-free zone, okay? When I go in there, because I know people that were like, my parents never fought, or like if they did, they'd go to the bedroom, close the door. Well, how is that supposed to be happening if that's your bedroom too? Okay, if you're like, well, I sleep in there, so excuse me, while you two fight, I'm going to just get in the bed. No, you have to have a place that is your own. I want to go take a shower. I walk in there and I don't have to worry someone's walking in after me. Okay, that definitely does happen, but it's usually if they escape my husband and get up the stairs and they open the door and they come in and they pull the curtain back and I'm like, how are you up here? Like, get out. Like, they know they're not supposed to be in there because that is our place, okay? I would be resentful. And maybe I'm just a resentful human being, okay? Maybe that's my problem, but I don't think it is. Because I'm not resentful to my kids. I would become resentful if I felt like nothing was ever mine or nothing was ever ours. Like my husband and mine, we have these moments that are ours, even if it's just to lay in bed and talk. Okay, you can't do that when your kids are in there sleeping. You just can't, trust me. So there have been times, I'm not saying that that my kids have never slept in my bed. Never well. No one has ever slept well together in our bed. But obviously, there are certain situations that you almost can't fix until, like, you can fix, but not like instantaneous fix. So for instance, my son, Trace, he had really bad sleep apnea, his adenoids and tonsils. He had to get all of that removed because they were so big in his throat. He was like 2 years old that he would stop breathing while he was asleep. And so there were, we'd put them to bed. He would wake up crying in the middle of the night. I was pregnant with Cage. So my husband would go running in there. He's crying because he can't breathe, or there'd be times that we'd go check on him and we couldn't really hear him breathing. So we'd wake him up. Well, there were times he would wake up crying and come into our bedroom and get in bed with us, and we'd prop up a pillow. But we did it more for our peace of mind, like that we can hear him breathing. But I was so pregnant. Taylor's working. We have 2 kids. I was sleeping a lot because that 3rd pregnancy really did me in. And none of us were sleeping well because he's in the bed, kicking me in the back, slapping me in the face. And I'm like, this kid has got to get out of my bed. But he needed to have the surgery to remove them, and we had to schedule that, and it was weeks out. So there was a very short time period, where he slept in our bed. Not the whole night. It was usually we'd go get him when we were ready to go to bed. Like, we would still hang out, and then we would go get him. Or he would come into our bedroom in the middle of the night, kind of a thing. Because he couldn't breathe. Okay, that's a very big difference than like, we set up a cot in the room for you because this is your bedroom. You have a bedroom in the house, but we're choosing to have you sleep in here. Okay, and that is my personal view. Okay, I don't think kids belong in your bedroom. Then, this was months ago. I act like it was yesterday because I still think about it more than I should. This influencer, I don't even follow her. I don't know how it even showed up on my thing. But I see that she is getting a custom mattress made for all of them to sleep in the same bed. And I was like, nope, we'll never be following her because she would just trigger me. I'm sure her and I would not really get along. That's my view from it within a split-second decision. Because what do you mean you are getting a custom mattress made for all of you to sleep in the same bed? I think that's weird. Okay, I do. Not to be rude, not to rain on your parade. I think that is weird. I don't understand. And if it's an anxiety thing, you should probably go to therapy for that. No one should be having that much anxiety that they can't have their kids in a bedroom next door to them. Like that I will, and I have some mom anxieties. Okay, I'm not saying I've never had an anxious thought about my kids. Okay, I clearly have. But to the point of building a mattress so that we all sleep in the same bed every single night, that is where I'm drawing the line.